This episode has been supported by Bow Concept Scotland. The Danish interior specialist offers a range of customisable furniture and accessories for the home and workplace. Bow Concept Scotland offers a free interior design service, a guarantee for a lifetime, and installation throughout the country. The team is delighted to announce the countdown to a new store opening on Ingham Street, Glasgow. Keep an eye on bowconcept.scotland on Instagram for further updates. Exciting times. Stores are currently in Buchanan Galleries and Princess Square, Glasgow, plus Edinburgh Rose Street. A very warm welcome. This is the 5th episode of the Homes and Interior Scotland podcast. I'm your host, Gillian Welsh, and I'm also the editor of the Homes and Interior Scotland magazine. In today's episode, we'll be chatting to Wendy Murray of Bute Fabrics. Bute Fabrics was founded in 1947 and has since then become a world-famous heritage brand, proudly representing the best of Scotland in the international design market. Wendy is the brand manager there, and she's seen some very exciting projects and collaborations, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. So let's dive right in. Hi, Wendy. So when did you join Bute Fabrics, and what was your key role then?
So I joined Bute Fabrics in August 2015, and when I started I was brought on to develop sales in a new product line that they were launching then, which was accessories, which we do at the moment. But when I started, I'd come from a mill where I'd done the rebrand and a new website, a new visual identity, and more of the conversation after I'd started with Bute turned to perhaps me focusing on that for the initial period that I started. So I took on the role of basically managing the brand and taking on the rebrand, so organising a brief for that, going out to tender for different digital agencies, and then we settled on Graphical House, who we've worked with for a few years, and that was probably a process that started in 2016, and we launched the website in 2017, but it's still an ongoing process.
Of course, yeah.
So a massive challenge in that we've got a massive archive and a lot of fabrics, and so photography was quite key. We've also got international projects, so developing an archive of those as well. And we sort of tweaked the logo as well, so not totally changing the logo, but making it more contemporary.
So in a way to project the company and Bute, you need to know about its history, obviously, before you can do that.
Totally. And that's something that's really important for Bute Fabrics, because the history is quite unique. It's owned by the Marquis of Bute, and the mill was founded after the Second World War to offer a place of work for returning service people. So it had a really nice start-up idea, and it was initially called Bute Industries, and then over the years sort of developed to now it's Bute Fabrics.
Great. Talk us through the process from initial idea to the finished completed fabric. It's a big question, but how does it all work?
It's a really fun process, to be fair, and we've just launched 2 new collections, which are the first on our jacquard looms. So Bute has always been a dobby weaver, which means that we can't do pattern really. And now we've got 2 jacquard looms, which has opened up this whole myriad of options for us, which is great. But because we were going to do these 2 first collections in the jacquard, we wanted it really exciting, something quite visually striking, but also something that resonated with the history of Bute and the island and our workers, kind of a celebration of what we do at Bute Fabrics. So to begin the process, no matter if it's for our own collections or for a client, we always create a brief. So for this one, that just what I said was sort of our brief was to have something that resonated with the island and Bute Fabrics history. And then also we wanted a sustainability element, mainly because we think that's becoming quite important.
Absolutely,
so that
it's a
in
hot
terms
topic.
of the yarn, exactly. So
who comes up with these ideas then? Do you have weekly meetings, monthly meetings? Is it as structured as that? Do all the staff come together to brainstorm?
I guess it's a kind of ongoing conversation. For the identity and strata, we invited Newcastle-based designer David Irwin to collaborate with us, and mainly because we talked about these collections, we had really big ideas, but we were kind of too close to see how we could execute it in the best way. And he's been a person that we've worked with quite a lot over the past maybe 5-10 years, and so he had a good objective eye to come in and create these designs for us, which worked really well.
Good. Okay, so talk about these looms. Where in this process do they feature?
So basically, once the fabric's signed off, then it's away to be warped. So what the warp is creating the length of fabric that can then be woven with a weft. Okay. So that is what happens with our looms, which I mentioned, the Dobby and the Jacquard. So Dobby looms are what Bute have always woven with, and basically it's just a much more controlled way of weaving in that it does textures and planes really well, but there's not the opportunity for a large scale pattern.
Right.
And so the Jacquard's basically like a giant printer.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You can put something onto the computer, an image or a translation of a design. For example, one of the new ones, Kin, is a 140 centimetre wide repeat. So that goes straight down to the loom, and we'd never been able to do that before. And basically what's created is what was your image, your CAD image. So it's basically opened up a whole lot of different opportunities for us that we couldn't really tap into before.
Different challenges about as well.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Because the fact that we'd never woven with Jacquard before means we didn't have that knowledge in-house.
So you've had to train staff?
Yep, absolutely. Actually, the manufacturers of the looms have come over and trained the staff. So, and we had the looms probably for a year before we actually produced these final fabrics, just so that we had a lot of learning, tinkering, you know, understanding the looms and how they work before we actually went into production.
So what makes Bute Fabrics different to other mills?
I think there's a few different elements that make Bute Fabrics different. One of those that we get complimented on quite a lot is that we use hand looms to sample fabrics for customers. So it basically means that if someone comes to us with a brief or a project and we can interpret it, but rather than putting it straight into production, we can give them some options through what we hand weave on the looms up in the design studio. And then that means we can do different colours, we can offer different textures, we can do a few variations, and then those samples can go for sign off, and then that means that we've got a sort of master swatch for then what goes into production. Yeah.
And for a sort of simple sample, how long does that take?
It depends. Sometimes simple isn't as simple as you think.
Good answer.
But within a day, normally we can have the warp on, hand weave, and then take it off again.
Great.
But sometimes we've got 5 or 6 of them going on throughout a week. So it's just, it does take time. And obviously if you're developing the weave as you're going, it's quite intricate, but it's a good process.
Okay, so the customer goes for the sample that you've produced. What's the next bit? Where does it go after that?
So then the next bit would be to make sure if they've picked a swatch that they're happy with the colour. If we need to revisit the colour, then maybe we'll send them a yarn string to offer different variations on a tone if they started with a mood board. And once we have that signed off, then generally that's when it goes to production.
Okay.
So
is production, the next step in production, is that the floor where things get made?
Yeah, exactly. So it would go to be warped up down in the mill shed, and then it would be woven, and then it goes through an inspection process just to make sure there's no flaws on the fabric. Then it goes to finishing, which would be, it's like a wash and dry process basically to clean any of the oils from the wool out and set it. Sometimes fabrics go through a heat press, or sometimes they're brushed to give a different texture. And then it comes back to the mill where it's inspected again just to make sure that the fabric is perfect. And then it's ready to ship. So that would be sort of a quick summary of the full process.
And how has Bute made a traditional craft contemporary?
I think for Bute, its colour palette, it's always been striking, bold, rich, sort of deep hues of colour, although they do neutrals as well. We have always been seen to be quite unique in that aspect, especially from other UK mills who are maybe more tonal and subtle in their
Right.
colour palettes. So I think that has definitely changed how people see the woven fabrics that Bute have got to offer.
Tell me about the inspiration behind these colours and things like that. Do they come from all over?
Yeah, I think a lot of colours, we do a lot of taking photography locally. So there's lots of different things on the island, and some of the images from the website in the Our Story section, that's where we've picked up on different colour palettes, made mood boards from that. The new collections that I had mentioned that we're launching, all of the colours from that came from local stones and rocks that we'd found. So we actually yarn matched to those colours, which was really different for us and quite nice because it's got sort of earthy tones, but it's got
Lovely.
quite a lot of different elements to it. So yeah. And then the brights come from, I guess, trend research, but also what we see is contrasting to some of the more subtle yarns that we've got. So sometimes you can put a grey with a bright yellow and it creates a medium, which is really nice, and it works really well for our tweeds and things like that.
Lovely. Tell me more about what Bute means to the local community.
Well, it's one of the largest employers on the island, not the largest, because there's Mount Stewart that's there, but certainly we've got sort of 40 to 50 employees at the moment. I think it's nearing 50, and so we really try to promote Bute Fabrics as an employer locally by relationships with the schools and the college and things like that. And I guess because it's been there for such a long time, it's quite well known in the island. And we do sell a lot of fabrics through the shop to local upholsterers and people who are making things. So they sort of buy locally, which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. How does Bute fit into the modern world?
I think Bute has always been ahead of its time in terms of how people perceive the brand, and that it's always had a really colourful palette of fabrics. We've always done textures that are quite different from anything else you can get in the market. And also they were really unique in doing collaborations quite early before that was, the norm. So Bute had collaborations with Tom Dixon, Barbara Oscarby, Timorous Beasties, companies that, are really exciting and doing unique things themselves.
Absolutely.
And really brought something to the collection that Bute have.
Tell us about an employee or a group of employees who've worked for the brand for a long time and how they've perfected their craft.
I think actually Bute are quite unique in that we have quite a young workforce, which is great because a lot of Scottish mills, succession is a big thing that they need to plan, and we've got really passionate individuals who are been with us for between 5 and 10 years. So what we do at Bute is the people that have been there longer, we really try and nurture the skills being shared, and there's a lot of apprenticeships within the mill. So I would actually say they're sort of perfecting their craft and going forward as a team. And especially we've got these new looms that I mentioned coming in, and we've got the training happening on them, and because no one's ever used them before, it's a learning task for everybody together, which is great.
Who's your customer and who's your next customer going to be?
Oh, that's a good question. Our customers are really varied. So we make fabrics for companies in the States for their own brand. We design and make fabrics for companies in the UK. We've just done a big collaboration with Tom Dixon for fabrics that are going to be sold for their furniture line. We do sell to interior designers, and then we've got our shop, which is a retail store. So the customer is varied, and at the moment I think we're seeing a sort of uptake in the hospitality area, mainly because we're being asked more and more for accessories that complement our fabric range. So now we're offering soft accessories like throws, cushions, things like that. And I guess that would be the steer of where we see the next customer being. We also have a lot of fabrics which are IMO certified for marine use, which we've never really promoted before. So that's something that we're looking at doing in the future. So hopefully that will be another sector that will come into the fore in the next few years.
Great. What would be the ultimate commission, do you think?
Do you know, the collaboration we've just recently done with Tom Dixon has been really exciting, because Bute done some work with Tom Dixon on our store fabric when it was launched years ago, and so we've always had this relationship, but Tom Dixon have never actually had their own branded fabric range, although they sell loads of furniture. So this has been a learning experience for them and for us. And we've created these textures which are, totally unique, some really quite chunky and some quite fine fabrics, all in Tom Dixon colour palette. So they've selected the colours. So it's really something quite unique. It's going to be launching over the course of 2020, and that has been quite exciting. So I think that's been great.
I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah. And one other project that I would say that's always we love is Agnew's Gallery in London. They use our fabrics for their exhibition stands, so they cover the walls in the fabric, and then they have their works of art over them when they do exhibitions, and it always looks fantastic, and it's so unique because no one ever thinks to use the fabric in that way. So that's another fun commission.
Okay, Wendy, so what's going to be the biggest trend for 2020?
I think, we sort of mentioned it earlier, but sustainability. I think that's a massive interest for everyone. Buying less, so less consumption, I think, is another thing, where people are looking at like reusing, recycling, remaking. So if you are selling product, I think for us, certainly it has to be product we can say is durable, it's going to last a long time, and that we've addressed sort of sustainability elements within. And quite a few of our new collections next year all have recycled elements to them.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great. A couple of other sort of, I wouldn't say random questions, but what does home mean to you?
I've really spent time thinking about this, because I think this is a good one, but I probably say the same thing that everyone says, but I think somewhere, my house is brightly coloured. I don't have any white walls. It makes me happy when I come through the door.
Fantastic.
I live with an architect as well, so having no white walls is quite
it's quite unusual,
difficult.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
How did you persuade?
I just did, and then afterwards hoped that it was okay.
So what colour features in your house?
It's probably not to everybody's taste, but there's definitely, we've got a big bluebell grey painted wallpaper up the hall, which is gorgeous, loads of different colours. Lovely. And then I've used that to paint the walls and the doors in different colours from that mural.
I'm seeing purples and blues, maybe?
There's kind of like teals, pale pinks, there's like an emerald green, navy, a few greys. But yeah,
lovely.
It's fun. I really enjoy doing that. So there's a lot of Bute Fabrics as well. But yeah, I think somewhere you feel comfortable, somewhere that you feel safe and that you're yourself. And then I think one of the main things we always wanted was somewhere other people feel welcome. So we usually have a busy house from other people stopping by, which I really like.
I might have to stop by and check
it.
Yeah,
do. Come on, anytime. It sounds great. It's brilliant. I thoroughly recommend Bluebell Grey. I love that wallpaper.
Another quick question. Do you know how to weave?
I do, yeah. Oh. I studied weave at Glasgow School of Art, so I am a weaver by education.
Fantastic.
And my first job out of art school was as a weave designer. So yeah, I can still... Actually, when we done the launch for Tom Dixon at London Design Festival, we had a hand loom, and I was weaving for the first time in probably about 6 or 7 years. Really? And it was so much fun. Yeah.
And do you miss it?
Yeah, it's... A loom takes up a lot of space, so it's not something you can have unless you have that studio space at home. Yeah. But no, it's really good.
It seems like a big commitment as well.
It's quite therapeutic, I think, as well. Sort of creating something from nothing, essentially. It's good.
Absolutely. Okay, and finally, what does luxury mean to you?
I think luxury, or the concept of luxury, is definitely changing in line with how people think about recycling and reusing things. So I would say luxury probably means longevity. So I think it's still a treat, something that should be sort of coveted, but that you know is going to last for a long time. And so I think in terms of colour trends and texture trends, don't really apply when it comes to a luxury object, because it's something will stand, the test of time, and you're going to have it for a long period.
Okay. When can we come and visit the mill?
Anytime you can come. We do offer mill tours because we've had a lot of interest in the past few years of people saying they want to come and have a look round. But obviously we're a working mill, so we try and do that in controlled smaller groups, and also it's quite loud. So what we do is we generally put out in our social media when we're having a couple of open days.
Great.
And then, come along. But we'll have you anytime you want to visit, and that's fine.
I need to see this jacquard.
Yeah, it's great to see in action. It really is. It's exciting.
Is it quite an involved process with jacquard in terms of the maintenance of it? Because it's computer based. Does it mean? I
think it's the same. The Dobby looms and the jacquards really take the same amount of upkeep, I suppose. But the difference with the jacquard is that because there's more pattern, there's sort of more complex images being produced. So in terms of finding flaws and faults, it might not be quite as simple as when you're weaving a plane.
Are the images generated via the computer?
Yeah, so we take the design into the CAD system.
Right.
And we can, so if someone wanted to commission us to do something, we could send them the CAD image, which means they would have a version to approve before we went to weave.
Makes sense. Each episode we ask the guest to prepare a quick how-to on anything they like. We've discussed how to clean behind a radiator, how to reverse park, and how to set tablet. Wendy, what's your how-to?
This is not originally mine, I have to say that first, but it's something that I've just came across recently, which was for bonfire night. And I might be the last person to hear this idea, so far I'm sorry, but for kids holding sparklers, to put sparklers in a carrot. Have you heard this idea? So that it means that their hands are not next to the flame and it's easier to hold.
I didn't realise that.
So useful for Christmas and New Year, guys, just saying.
So can I suggest that to my 9-year-old boy?
Yeah, exactly.
You're to blame.
Very useful.
Fantastic, thank you.
Welcome, thanks.
Okay, before we sign off, Wendy, where can we learn more about Bute?
Yep, so you can go onto our website, so we're butefabrics.com, and we're also on Instagram, where we share quite a lot of our information, content, images, behind the scenes kind of stuff. So yeah, that's where I would go to first.
Thanks very much for coming in today, Wendy. It's
Thank
been
you.
Really nice to talk to you.
Really fun. Thanks,
And
Jill.
what a story.
I know. It's really interesting to hear about Bute Fabrics.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Yeah, good. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. Our bumper November and December issue of the magazine is still available, and with it comes a free art guide. It's our expert handbook with practical insider advice on things like where to start, how to buy, who to see and where to look. The magazine and supplement are available across Scotland in all good retailers, or you can read the special seasonal edition online via the Homes and Interior Scotland app or on Readly. Receive 2020's magazines direct to your door by subscribing today from just £18, or why not buy a subscription as a Christmas gift for someone that they can enjoy long after the tree is down. If you're enjoying our podcast, please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. Find us online at homesandinteriorscotland.com or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest by searching for Homes and Interior Scotland. This episode of the Homes and Interior Scotland podcast was presented by myself, Gillian Welsh, produced by Sarah Gillespie and edited by Alec Drew. And thanks again to Bow Concept Scotland. We're really looking forward to visiting the new Glasgow store when it opens. Keep up to date on Instagram or head to bowconcept.com.